Welcome back to Hornbill TV's Beyond Headlines with Al Nguli. The mountains of Kiphire district hold an incredible secret. I'm sure almost every one of us missed this story when this news event broke out in the first week of January 2022. Now, January 2022 was a difficult month for Nagaland. We were wrestling with COVID restrictions. We were caught up in probably the first proper Christmas and New Year celebrations back then for the state since the COVID-19 pandemic broke out in 2020. Now, this was followed by endless lapse of lockdowns and restrictions. We were busy buying shekar for 200 rupees. During the time, we were busy trying to find tomatoes that didn't cost 5,000 rupees per kilogram. Another reason we missed Kiphire's secret and what they found in the district in the first week of January 2022 was this. Almost everyone in the northeast was riveted on this one painful incident during that period, the killing of 14 civilians in Mon district by the 21st Paraspecial Forces of the Indian Army on December 4th. This incident kept every news house and organization, including Hornbill TV, on its toes. I remember there were Atu Jamir, Niyami Kikon, and our former news anchor Akivito Chishi. All of us were constantly talking about the Mon ambush. Now, that's why we, including almost every news house in Nagaland and Northeast India, missed the secret. Now, the national media, they reported this finding. Everyone from the Indian Express to India Today, Financial Express to the Deccan Herald, everyone reported it. In our previous edition, ladies and gentlemen, we had examined some of the aspects of wildlife enforcement in Nagaland. The case in point was that of a YouTuber who killed an endangered snake species. Unfortunate as the development was, I think it's a wonderful opportunity for us to examine the multifaceted interplay of our lives with that of nature and the environment. Now, it can help us reflect on the wealth of our flora and fauna. It can help us appreciate the value of our natural and ecological capital. Now, we often hear of this overused, cliched, exceedingly annoying statement. Nagaland is rich in flora and fauna. Nagaland is rich in flora and fauna, Personally, this annoying statement, it projects the illusion of abundance. It highlights a sense of ecological provision and prosperity without actually accentuating the reality of abuse, overuse, and destruction of our flora and fauna. These statements, Nagaland is rich in flora and fauna, blinds us to the reality of serious depletion of our forest cover. For instance, in December 2024, the media reported that between 2013 and 2023, forest cover in Nagaland had decreased from about 13,000 square kilometers to about 12,000 square kilometers. This represented a loss of at least 794 square kilometers. Now, out of this, 360 kilometers decline was reported from just 2019-2023. Now, so to claim Nagaland is rich in flora and fauna is to divert and deflect from taking accountability to the fact that traditional farming practices in the rural areas are destroying our forests. This could mean habitat destruction due to deforestation, overhunting for bushmeat, and illegal wildlife trade. So the question here is not so much about what we possess as much as it is about how we can preserve what little we already have. The problem is made even more complicated by the fact that our forest and wildlife establishment just doesn't seem to have a reliable database. Data is the heart of progress, whether it is forest, wildlife, economics, it could be development, it could be education, and even the military. Our government may need to consider establishing a strong data capital here, because data gives clarity to planning. And when I went to the website of the Forest and Wildlife Establishment, the content was extremely superficial, extremely thin and amateur. No disrespect, but for a website that represents a critical issue like nature and conservation, it felt like a website for second-hand clothes. But to be fair to the government, the forest and the wildlife establishment may have their own challenges: manpower issues, funding issues, infrastructure, and the lack of a robust sustainability policy. I think it's one of the state's least and cared for government establishments, forest and wildlife. Oh, you guys, you're waiting for the secret. We'll get into that later. There is an interesting list of endangered fauna that Nagaland is home to. Embarrassingly, most of them have been food, and some or many still are food to us. For instance, primates. Monkey meat is common in the villages. You have seen them. If at all, they are now found in our forests anymore. Who eats monkeys anyway? Goodness, I think they're really cute and they're not something to be eaten. I remember from my childhood years in Woka that someone had killed a monkey. I was a child then. Now that kill was a very big deal because monkeys were already a rare catch for hunters even during the time when I was a child in Woka. Mountie, that mountain over Woka town, sadly is now practically bald. Nothing is there. It used to be an extremely thick forest where even hornbills, wild boar, deer, and even bears, I heard, used to be found. Another of the more exotic animals that were found there was the Hulok gibbon. We used to call it the kuso. The Hulok gibbon is found in the hill forests and is vulnerable due to habitat loss and hunting. It has an extremely loud call that you can hear from miles away. Ladies and gentlemen, you should hear that once. So during my college days, a citizen in Woka town's Blue Hill colony in Woka used to have one. When it called out, you could hear that monkey from as far as away as the town's traffic point, like kilometers away. It was that loud. The Hulok gibbon is among Nagaland's most endangered animals, and by the way, this animal is found only in Nagaland, and we shouldn't be really hunting for that guy. I mean, they're really cute, but besides that, they're really endangered, and I think we really shouldn't be eating monkeys, please. There is another vulnerable species of primates. It's called the tailed pig in Nagaland. It refers to the northern pig-tailed macaque, a vulnerable species of macaque found in the region's forest, known for its short pig-like tail and distinctive facial markings. Likewise, tigers is probably the biggest casualty of the Naga people's pre-modern story. I believe tigers used to be abundant across the state. I've seen many photographs of tigers killed by Naga villagers. Our necklaces and our ornaments have tiger claws and fangs. We have in these times had a few instances of our villagers spotting tigers or tigers passing through. Medzibima, for instance, it has had 2 incidents. Nagaland surprised the country when in February 2016 villagers shot a tiger there. Tigers have not been officially recorded from our area in more than about 10 years. Now, a similar sighting was reported in 2024, just recently. I think it was in Medzibima again. All the tigers we now have are in our stories, in our shawls and wooden carvings. Again, hornbills, the heart of Naga symbolism and culture. They are a story you already know. From what I have heard, Nagaland is home to several species of the hornbill, including the great hornbill. While they are seldom seen in fox the way they were seen, they are not necessarily endangered, thankfully, but they still are vulnerable and on the International Union for Conservation of Nature's list, or the IUCN Red List. Now, the IUCN Red List of threatened species is a global comprehensive inventory of the extinction risk of various animal species. Yes, of course, animals and fungi and plants. It also provides information to inform conservation efforts and policy decisions to governments. I read there are no specific critically endangered hornbill species native to Nagaland, thankfully. But I hope that doesn't give us too much hope to start hunting for these birds. Seriously, pork, beef, and fish and chicken are more than enough. Come on, guys. There is an extensive list of interesting wildlife that we can talk about, if not for time constraints in our show. Let's talk about one of Nagaland's most famous residents before we get into Kiphire's best kept secret, the Blyth Tragopan, the state bird of Nagaland. The Tragopan, or the grey-billed Tragopan, is a pheasant. It's a vulnerable species named after Edward Blyth, who was an English zoologist and curator of the Museum of the Asiatic Society of Bengal. Now, this beautiful little pheasant represents Nagaland and the Naga people, up there with the hornbill and the mithun. The pheasant's population is very small and is believed to be decreasing at a rapid rate. While some are found in Bhutan, Northeast India, and some in North Myanmar, and even in Southeast Tibet, and even in China, the population of this bird is estimated to be just about 2,500 to 9,000, somewhere in that range. It is an extremely small number compared to the population of birds in this category. For instance, there are about 160 to 220 million common pheasants, which is a cousin of the Blyth Tragopan. I think the Connemara Nature Conservation and Tragopan Sanctuary is doing a wonderful job of conserving the pheasant here. The Connemara Sanctuary is a community-led initiative that is conserving the bird. The community established the sanctuary in 1998 and has been extremely proactive in its mission to ban hunting and to promote sustainable practices. The community has been restoring forests too, which means critical habitat is preserved for flora and fauna to thrive, meaning it's not just the Tragopan, but many other important wildlife and plant species that are protected and because of which they are thriving. Now let's see, for instance, the bamboo partridge and the large hawk cuckoo are some of the other bird species there in the sanctuary. Now, for the very first time in the state of Nagaland, ladies and gentlemen, wildlife experts discovered one of the world's most fabled, celebrated, and unfortunately critically vulnerable animals in Nagaland, the clouded leopard. This animal, seen only in rare footages and cinematic sequences of Discovery Channel or Animal Planet, I think you may have seen them, has been found to live in the state of Nagaland. More specifically, they have been found on the mountains of Kiphire district. In January 2022, wildlife researchers spotted a clouded leopard in a community forest of Thaname village. I think it's called the Apple village of Nagaland, Thaname village. Now, the clouded leopard is known to inhabit low elevation evergreen rainforests. This animal was spotted at an altitude of about 3,700 meters along the Indo-Myanmar border, flanking Thaname village in Kiphire district. The researchers found photographic evidence of the species in the village. Now, the district is close to the state's highest peak, Mount Saramati. The team was led by the Delhi-based non-profit Wildlife Protection Society of India, and they were there during that winter. Now, the camera trap surveys were put in place, and it was conducted between January and June 2020, in which 37 camera traps were laid covering the entire community forest. The good news is this: the clouded leopard they spotted was not a stray or a migrating animal like the tigers in Medzimema, but apparently they were a breeding group and were living in that area. The team discovered at least 2 adult clouded leopards and 2 cubs. The researchers believe that the big cats were reproducing there to indicate that the area is sufficient in food supplies and food sources. There's a family out there. So there could be others too. Interestingly, in May 2022, the Nagaland Zoological Park, they took in 2 clouded leopard cubs from Longpa village in Moshong district. There could be more elsewhere across Nagaland still yet undiscovered. I'm just surprised there hasn't been that much news about this either from the Forest or Wildlife Department of our government, or there has been no news of any kind of conservation actions from the community in this regard. Anyhow, maybe we should simply keep it low-key. We don't want wildlife tourists or enterprising poachers swamping the area to mess up the whole thing for us. There are several reasons. The biggest threat they face is poaching and habitat loss. Ladies and gentlemen, clouded leopard require large areas of intact forest. These leopards are known as shy. They are nocturnal. Only at night they'll come out, and they live in trees mostly. So it makes it difficult for researchers to actually study or to observe their lives. The large forest they live in protects and provides for these cats, just in case some crazy dude with some crazy medicine goals don't come poaching for them. Generally, they're found in some pockets of the Himalayan foothills, mainland Southeast Asia, and parts of China. Development, urbanization, and deforestation, they are eating into forests these animals call home. Now, large-scale deforestation and commercial poaching for the wildlife trade just makes it hard for these animals to thrive. They're threatened by habitat loss following large-scale deforestation and commercial poaching for the wildlife trade. In spite of its protected status, the clouded leopard is a big draw in the black market. The media reports that body parts of at least 279 clouded leopards, mostly skins and skeletons, were observed in 4 markets between 1991 and 2006 in Asia. Some markets are located near Myanmar's border with China and Thailand and are used to enable cross-border smuggling. In Nepal too, 27 cases of clouded leopard body parts were discovered between November 1988 and March 2020 in 9 districts of the country. This comprises at least 51 individual clouded leopards. Now, if you compare it to how many clouded leopards are existing in the world today, about 10,000, even 2 or 3 of them is a lot. A report by Springer Nature says that hundreds of clouded leopard skins have been noted during the market surveys throughout Asia in the recent decades. Similarly, researchers have also documented threat in their bones for medicines, I don't know, these crazy medicines, meat for exotic dishes, and live animals for use in the exotic pet business besides medicines. The reports say that a survey of illegal big cat derivatives at selected markets in Myanmar revealed clouded leopards to be the most frequently traded species of the big cats. 482 individual clouded leopards all in all. That wouldn't leave much fewer than 10,000 individuals of its kind in the world. In fact, in comparison, researchers found clouded leopards trade to be more than double that was observed for tigers in these areas. They're hunted for their beautiful coats, their fangs and bones for some shady and verified medicine by some cultures in Asia. The clouded leopard is a threatened, vulnerable species under ICUN 3.1 point and a Schedule 1 species protected under the Wildlife Protection Act of India 1972. For any reason other than in the context of threat to someone's life, you cannot harm them, you cannot kill them, you cannot have them for food, you cannot keep them as pets. No. So what are the ways that the Nagaland government and community can conserve and protect this beautiful but vulnerable feline species? These are just some of my suggestions. We already have anti-poaching laws. The only issue is to enforce them stricter to stop poachers and local hunters from targeting the leopards. Another action is to increase patrolling and surveillance. Forest guards are there. We have lots of them, but maybe more of them would be needed, especially in the border areas. Investing in technology such as drones and camera traps for monitoring would really help. Now, another suggestion is to create protected areas. I read that Tanamea village area is in which the leopards were found was a community conservation area, but I'm not sure it's a protected area. An administrative sanction to designate protected sanctuaries will ensure a higher level of protection for the leopard's safety. Because besides the leopards, there are other exotic animals in that area. We can also establish forest corridors to ensure the free movement and prevent habitat fragmentation in that area. Community involvement and awareness, that's another important input we can have there. This is critical. We need to educate local communities, especially indigenous groups, on the ecological importance of wildlife, and encourage them to become conservation ambassadors. We can also regulate wildlife tourism. We should from now on impose strict guidelines on potential ecotourism activities to prevent habitat disturbances, and these disturbances can be caused by unauthorized entry into leopard inhabited forests. Likewise, we can promote sustainable livelihoods. We can offer alternative income sources such as ecotourism, handicrafts, or beekeeping to reduce the rural people's dependence on hunting and forest exploitation. Scientific research and monitoring is something we should really seriously take into account. This is a very great research opportunity for Nagaland to add to its ecological capital. We can encourage extensive studies on clouded leopard behavior, habitat preferences, and threats to develop targeted conservation strategies in this regard. Let's hope something works out for Nagaland's clouded leopard, ladies and gentlemen. Now about the diversity, the biodiversity section of the Nagaland Forest Department's website. There are some things I would like to share here. It serves as a critical platform for information about the state's unique ecological resources. Nagaland is part of the Indo-Burma biodiversity hotspot. It's a region that's been recognized globally for its exceptional species diversity, and the significant threats that it poses is always in the news space. Now, therefore, the presentation of this information warrants a very high level of seriousness and depth, that it should reflect the importance of the subject matter. Now, here are some suggestions. Comprehensive and serious content is needed on our Forest and Wildlife Department's website. We need to expand the existing information to include in-depth articles, research and findings, data, and case studies on various species in ecosystem. And when I went there, the reason I said it looked like a second-hand clothes store on Instagram was that the information was very thin, superficial. It didn't even look like a website that hosts important information for one of the most critical issues and subject matters in the government. So this approach will provide to the diverse audiences and their needs, from students to researchers seeking detailed knowledge. Now we need rich visuals too. We can integrate high resolution images, documentaries and infographics that depict Nagaland's flora and fauna, our conservation efforts, and the ecological landscapes. Now, visual storytelling can effectively convey the urgency and importance of biodiversity preservation here. We can use interactive features too. We can implement interactive maps showcasing biodiversity hotspots, protected areas, and locations of specific species. Virtual tours and even augmented reality experiences can provide immersive learning opportunities, of course. This will entail a lot of investment, financial investment, manpower and talent investment, but I think these are some of the things we can do. Another input that we have is that we need detailed information on conservation in the state. We can provide comprehensive details about conservation programs, legal frameworks, and even the community-based initiatives that have been going on in Nagaland, including the Konoma and the Tanamia Community Reserve initiatives. Information on how individuals and organizations can contribute to these efforts can also encourage greater public involvement, and of course updates. Most government websites have old information. So we need to keep on updating the website. We need to maintain a dynamic platform by regularly updating content with the latest research, news and events related to biodiversity in Nagaland. Now, the presentation of biodiversity information on the Nagaland Forest Department's website should reflect the critical importance of conserving the state's unique ecological heritage. Now, by adopting a more elaborate and serious approach, which means detailed content, engaging visuals, interactive elements, and comprehensive conservation information, the website can serve as an effective tool for education awareness and even mobilization of conservation efforts. Such enhancements can not only elevate the platform's credibility but also inspire collective action towards preserving Nagaland's invaluable biodiversity for future generations. Thank you for watching Hornbill TV. I'm Al Nguli. See you next time.